All right. Yes, I'm super excited for this. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, like Amanda's like one of my favorite people. Amanda Zito is here with me and I'm with her, right? Like I'm Glenn Stein, just in case people are going to be watching this that don't know me, right? Like I'm Glenn Stein, Realty Executives in Villages, also coach for the Tom Ferry organization. Amanda is like queen of real estate. If you don't know Amanda, she's the queen of real estate in California. And like for my channel, and Amanda, you know, something we've been talking about for several weeks is, you know, really comparing different markets. We know there's a lot of influx and outflux, people moving from California, people doing different things, that type of thing, and then moving into Florida. And we're seeing our own share of different things here. We'll talk about that. But Amanda, you're in. Tell us about Amanda. Tell us.
Okay. My name's Amanda Zito. I work with Main Street Realtors out of Rancho Cucamonga, California. That's about, let's say, an hour east of Los Angeles. I'm in San Bernardino County, and I'm central to serving 4 different counties. So we have a nickname out here called the Inland Empire. We can serve San Bernardino County, Riverside County. We're an hour from Orange County and LA. But my particular area, I'm born and raised here. I'm out of Rancho Cucamonga, Rialto, Fontana area.
Got it. Got it. You know, it's interesting. I'm going to do a share screen because I was thinking about this like literally just a couple of minutes ago. And I was thinking, you know, we've got to look at, I want to look at where we should probably pull that up on maps somehow, Google Maps. We should probably do that. You know, I don't know if you want to pull that up. So let's see, I'm going to pull up, it's actually, we're not ready for that. So look at, this is, I think it's this one. Yeah. Can you see this?
Sure can. Oh, wow.
Right. This is where we are. I'm like right in the middle of that red dot. That's me, right?
That's really good. That's good to know.
That's where we are, right? Like some people, it's funny because it's like some people think, and I get this all the time. It's like, okay, you're in Florida. Are you close to Miami? No, like Miami's here, right? This is Miami. This is me. And, you know, obviously, let's find you. Why don't we find you? You want to be found?
Kind of see LA over there on the other side of the country.
Okay, it's not going to let me type that in. I want to. Oh, there it is. Rancho Cucamonga. There we go.
It's already populating. People search for it.
Yep. Let me zoom out. Let's find Amanda.
We're about on a good day with traffic. We're not far from Disneyland. So we're an hour east of Los Angeles, just northeast of Orange County, north of Riverside. And you see that 15 freeway to the right. That is to the right of those little orange and blue dots. That goes north and south, and that'll take you down to San Diego or north to Las Vegas.
Right.
So I'm right in the middle of all the commuters, the mountains, Big Bear, the wineries. It's a great place, and we're getting a ton of people migrating over from Los Angeles, more than we've ever seen.
Why is that?
Affordability. For what you can sell in Los Angeles, a tiny little 1-bedroom studio, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, you can buy a huge house out here with land and still be within a driving distance.
So what kind of price difference? What are we talking about? Like, you know, what's the typical house sell for in LA? Like give me an example.
That's not my market, but I can tell you that I'm receiving buyers on my listings that are selling properties that are $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. Mm-hmm. And they're buying down. They're buying properties over here for $400,000, $500,000, and $600,000. Bigger too, a lot more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of similar. You know, that's what we're seeing too. It's like, I think there's movement from California. You know, some of it's politics, some of it's taxes, some of it's people. And you brought this up a couple of weeks ago. You know, people just being tired of being locked down or whatever. You know, there's some of that stuff going on. So we've gotten like here in Florida. I'm noticing, you know, typically the migration pattern is typically east of the Mississippi. So it's typically, you know, Michigan, it's Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the Northeast, We get some people that are from, South Florida that will move to our area in Central Florida. But, maybe I remember maybe one or two people per year coming from someplace out west, and it could be Alaska. It could be, it's the one-off. But now it's pretty regular. Like what I'm noticing, and some of the people are going to be watching this is being recorded. I'm normally live, guys that are with me, but for the people that are going to be watching this, that there's going to be some people that are from the West Coast. We're getting more and more people, I'd say several times a month now, people coming from the West Coast that I'm aware of, that and I'm not officially tracking it. So it's interesting, the whole migration thing. Where are people, you named where people are moving from to your area. Where are people moving to?
See, that's great. That's a great question. The buyer profile, so the buyers coming to our area are coming from LA. The sellers who have been here forever. My parents, I'm third generation here in the city of Rialto. And so anybody who's usually 55 and older are leaving California. 80% of my sellers are leaving California. They're going to Tennessee, Florida, Texas, Idaho, Montana. I have two right now, Tennessee and Montana, which is huge. And they're just on their way out. So
okay. All right. But that's that. Is it any other reason besides what we talked about? I mean, politics, taxes, board, what's going on?
we just hit a record gas price last week for $7 a gallon.
What?
That was Northern California. It's only
What?
$5 here. It's $4.99 here if you get the lower unleaded version. $4.99.
Wow. It's fun. It's funny. It's a matter of I talk to a lot of people, a lot of my coaching clients, a lot of my agents in my own office, and we talk about perspective, right? With perspective, and that gives you a lot of perspective. And even in some other countries, it's more expensive than even in California. Right?
So a piece of it's politics. A piece of it is there's families that are moving too because they don't want to deal with the governor. They don't want to deal with some of the policies and the redistricting that's happening. Another reason that people are leaving California is affordability. The Inland Empire right now is #1 in the nation for inflation. And we're just getting started on inflation. People are barely feeling it. But if you look at postage has gone up 20%. Grocery prices, pay attention to your Amazon cart. Amazon's even going up. If you go to Long Beach, the port of Long Beach, which is maybe an hour drive from here, the whole coast is just backed up right now. So the people that are moving in for affordability because it's cheaper than LA, but the people that are moving out have already been impacted. And the truth is year over year, we have a 20% gain in property values. 20% gain. People are walking away with $200,000 to $300,000 in equity when they sell their property here. And that's why they're taking it over eastbound. They're able to downsize, get a nice little single story, low maintenance, sometimes pay cash for it, sometimes do a reverse mortgage purchase, and then take their pension from California and live a good life. So
it's interesting. So you're getting a lot of people that are staying within the state. They're moving from, closer to the coast, or maybe Northern California, or even San Diego, and then they're moving east to your area, which is going to be more affordable, or they're moving out completely and they're going to more affordable areas. They're taking their equity because of the appreciation. We've got a story too, and I've been telling the story for the last 18 months about where our market has been and where it's gone, where it is now and where I think it's going. Let's talk about that in your market. What can you say about where it's been and where it is now, and where do you think it's going?
There's so many dynamics, Glenn. There's a ton of dynamics at play that I don't think we could even cover in this meeting. Not only have the property values increased 20% year over year, and we have historically low inventory, the builders just can't keep up. So that's a piece of it. Last January of 2020, Governor Newsom passed the Renter Protection Act, which if you're a renter or you're in that market, and there's a big population in California that is just rentals, it was not landlord friendly. So in January, we started to see an influx of properties hitting the market where landlords said, hey, I'm going to take my money, I'm going to 1031 it out of state, go buy something a little bit more affordable. And then the pandemic hit. We had the eviction moratorium, which was extended with the forbearance on top of it. And there's a city not far from here, Moreno Valley, which is also one of those affordable cities that the San Diegans come and buy in. 25% of those listings were landlords selling it with the tenants who hadn't paid in over 12 months. Now the counties received, I want to say San Bernardino County received about 85 million in rental relief. And that's so the renters can go and get some rental relief, help out the landlords, because you got to look at the landlord profile. It's not these big bad corporations, LLCs that are trying to hold people down. It's ma and pa. It's a second home. It may be the family home and they went and bought somewhere else and they can't carry two different mortgages. So we saw landlords trying to dump properties. We saw buyers trying to come in, but we still have a housing problem because 50% of the listings were down. So it was just this mishmash of chaos that we really hadn't seen since the Great Recession. It was just different. It was high demand versus high inventory. And then people just got tired of it. It's so many reasons. We also have a second market, which is those that take in that 300,000 in equity, not just 1031 exchanging it, but saying, you know what, I'll keep my roots here, but I'm going to go buy a second home out of state. Where can I take this equity and get my foot out of state until I'm ready to go? I get a new job. I get my family positioned. We find out where the schools are going to be, because that's the hardest part of relocating. All right, I take that back. The hardest part's getting a U-Haul right now. It's like 1,000% difference to get a U-Haul in California.
I want to talk to you about that whole process. We've talked about this in the past. Like that's a whole thing. Like by the way, if you're thinking about right now, so I get some people that are obviously on the West Coast or in California, and you need some assistance in obviously selling your property in California, or you're planning on buying in California, or guess what? You just need, I don't know how to get this done. Amanda's the queen of getting that done and knowing how to get you from point A to point B, because she understands it completely. She's done it. She understands it. She's helped people tremendously. Yes. So California, Texas, baby. So
we're them too.
So, and by the way, if you guys have like questions or comments, this is being recorded, but we will respond. So leave your comments. That'd be great. You could also text us. Amanda, what's your phone number?
949-486-9486.
And mine is 352-572-3796. Text me. You can text us with questions, right? Like anything you guys need, just text us for sure. So you mentioned something about 1031 tax exchange, and funny enough, in about 3 weeks, I'm doing a video on that. I'm doing a live, and I think it's 3 weeks from today. I think it's the 11th or the 18th, I forget which, of December. Doing a 1031 tax exchange thing where I think it's super important right now, especially with all the tax information that's going out there, the amount of equity that people have, and they want to preserve it, going from one place to the next. So how much inventory? You also talked about inventory. So how much inventory do we have right now in your neck of the woods? I was looking in my area, by the way, this last week, we've taken a jump. I don't know if you've seen this. This is what we've seen. We've seen a jump up in demand this week. So we've gone from the Villages, which isn't, look, it's a smaller market. We're going to look at the numbers in a minute. I'll do a share screen with you, but we've gone from like 80 to like 69. That's where we are right at the moment. That's what's active at the moment. So it's like, and that's probably about 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks supply of home right now. So what are you seeing, Amanda?
We're seeing a little bit of a lull. Some of the boomerang buyers are starting to come back where they just got discouraged. They had buyer fatigue. I'm seeing less offers per property. However, it's still pretty strong. It really is. We're just down on inventory. We're below where we should be for even a decent seller's market. It's an extreme seller's market. And I do have some graphics that I can share that can be a little bit more assistant to that. You mind if I share a screen?
Sure, do it.
All right. See if this will work. Perfect. Here's the Google. Let's head on over here. So here's Rancho Cucamonga, and it's going back for 2018. This is just the inventory. And you can see all the way to today, we're still down, historically low. This was December of 2020. We even had more inventory when it was extremely hot a year ago. And so today it's down. We're seeing sellers have more confidence to go into the market, but they're in the middle of preparing their home. And then we've got the holidays that are coming. So holidays for me, my experience has always been a fantastic time for my buyers who just got beat up throughout the year. Come back in the market, jump in, and you'll be able to get a property a whole lot faster.
So you know what I love about this, Amanda, is that it's very interesting. This is very similar to what we've seen here in the villages and a lot of places around the country, where you look at, 2019, we saw an increase in inventory. Interest rates were up, and then they went, there was there was a big drop in interest rates some early part of 2019, I believe, first quarter. But we saw some inventory accumulation. And then after that, obviously, then things went downhill on inventory. So less and less inventory right down, looks like a set of mountains. And then you're looking at, look at 2020. We saw a little bit, actually middle of 2020, you saw a little bit of a increase in inventory there, right?
Just a slight bit. These were the people that were coming right back into the market. And, we were six months into the pandemic at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before the next resurgence where we had to do another shutdown. And this is right about where that shutdown happened. Again, they locked us down in January, and we've had to deal with that. We've been locked down so many times here in California that this is where you saw that dip in inventory. And then right around March is when they started passing the vaccines out. But you can see, even with the vaccines and the seller confidence increasing, we still don't have a whole lot of inventory.
Yeah.
And so we saw a little bit right here in October. These are the sellers that were getting scared. They're getting scared that, oh man, the bubble's about to pop. I don't know what bubble they're talking about, but it's a mindset. This is where you watch MSNBC or CNN and they're saying, oh, it's too hot, it's going to crash. And they're like, well, let me get as much money out of this as I can.
Watch nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Amanda, you want to know what's going on in California? Amanda's going to tell you.
Here we go. It's right back down again. But I'll tell you, even though we're in November, I have a list of sellers that are preparing the home right now, texting me on a daily basis. I need a painter. I need a handyman. I need drywall, because come January, they're ready to put that property on the market and get going. So that's our inventory. And this is pretty standard throughout any of the cities.
Mm-hmm.
Our days on the market, just average days on the market, they've upticked just a little bit, but not a whole lot. You can see even through 2020, here's our pandemic. And then here is our vaccine being passed out, but it's still super, super quick, 3 weeks or less. That's average days on the market, but that's not necessarily where I'm particularly at. My homes will sell in 7 days.
You're at a low point right there, right? That's the low point in days on market, meaning things are selling faster now, right? Versus pretty much any time before, up until 2018, right? Like during this time period of like 3 years, we're at the low point, aren't we?
So we're getting the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And like I mentioned there on that inventory, it's completely down. So yeah.
So sellers are jumping up and down right now.
They're jumping up and down. If they really wanted to leave and move over, I D&D'd that. If they really wanted to and they wanted to head on over to Florida, it's a great time. It's a fantastic time to do it, because I mean, how long would it take for them to buy a property in your area?
Well, the time is not the issue. Obviously, just like anything else, is really the amount of inventory. So, if you're looking at inventory right now, I shared this with several of my people today, in fact, and we were looking at days on market. And if we look at days on market, and actually, days on market is really fascinating. But if we look at like this I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So not necessarily chart, but looking at numbers. We look at the chart for a minute, but that's too confusing. That'll make anybody just pass out if they look at it too long. So, January 2016, we're looking at 58 days on the market, average sales price at 229. So literally, if we scroll down and look at 5 years later, we're now looking at, median price right at the 279, 280 mark, January of this year, 30 days on market. But this is the big deal here is like, look what happened. And there's a gradual decrease, but all of a sudden it was gradual but consistent. And all of a sudden, June of this year, 6 days on market, 4, 3, 3, 3 days on market, right?
Wow.
Right? So, and now we're at 329. So obviously the prices have gone up, still very affordable. Now we get complaints of like, unfortunately, there's been people that have been priced out of this particular area in the villages. So we're actually selling them either they're renting, which we have a property management division, or they're buying things that are going to be, in the periphery outside of the villages and something that's going to be a little bit more affordable. They just won't be able to take advantage of the lifestyle. So days on market really has gone down. And while we're on this, you could start looking at, historic count of active listings, like Amanda was showing, for Inland Empire, when we're looking at the villages, 400s, 300s throughout the years, 2018, 2019, down in the 200s. We saw a little bit less inventory. This was after the interest rates went down. And then 2020, the buildup in inventory because of COVID. And obviously mostly a senior population here, mostly senior, over 55 plus. People were a little bit, without the vaccine, people were a little bit leery, and we had a month of lockdown, a little bit of a difference between Florida and California, and, increase, and then a high in November on inventory, 451, which is probably the most we've ever had. And then a complete reversal, obviously, with the vaccine coming into play, all other elements come into play, but, things go bananas. Active listings went straight through the floor, like hardly anything on the market. So you're seeing now, then for the first time ever, single digits here. The other thing, while we're on this trend, is looking at historic sales. And this is something I want to point out, and I want you to talk about this in a second too, Amanda, is this. When people are speaking about, almost every marketplace earlier on this year, and some markets last year, basically on fire and moving at a speed of like 500 miles per hour. And now we're not moving at 500 miles per hour, at least in our marketplace. We're moving at 250 miles per hour. And the way to look at that is, okay, look at these months here, March, April, May, June, July, 260, 240, 282 units per month. These are all record numbers for this particular marketplace in the Villages, Florida. Then July, August, September, we've seen a decrease. So we were talking about a significant drop from 282 all the way down to 165. It makes everybody, it's almost like turbulence on an airplane when you drop 500 feet and everybody, loses their lunch. They get really, really nervous. But the reality is, let's compare it to the rest of the years. 165, very so, actually still more than past September's or August or October's. So now we're moving in more of a normal market, or normal is relative, like who knows what normal is, but definitely, right? It's definitely very comparable to years past. And I'm labeling this like a soft landing, into like this was us, we went crazy, and now we're back here.
It's seasonal from what we see over here. But the problem was, after looking at the trends, after looking at what the economists are trying to predict, and they can't really predict what the housing market's going to do for the next 4 to 5 months, because 2020 was just like putting a lid on boiling water. And then our normal buying and selling season, March, April, May, June, July, was suppressed. It was at the end of the year. So you can't really compare it. And I think that people are just a little nervous, but we're going to continue to see these. We're going to continue to see these trends.
It looks that way. So do you feel like is there a market crash coming to California?
Not at all.
Okay. All right, good.
No, I think that a lot of people see these prices and perceive them as a bubble, but you have to look at the buyer profile. They have to go through full document loans, tax returns, W-2s. Most of the people who could buy have bought: cops, firefighters, um, nurses, etc. And then if you were really to take our prices today and go back on the historicals, California prices appreciate anywhere between 4 to 5% a year. And that's on average. That's taking out the bubble of 2004, 5, and 6. And it's taking out the anomaly of 21 and 20. And you go back and you look from the 1940s, we're where we should be. The difference is we have interest rates that are 2.85, 3.1. We are at a historical low on interest rates, which makes house payment affordability more affordable than it was 10 years ago. So if people are looking at that principal, yeah, it's high. They even blow me away. I'm like, wow, those numbers, I've never seen them before. But if you look at those payments, it's cheaper than rent. And as a homeowner existing, to get a 20% year over year in equity, where you just showed me property values that were 370,000. Homeowners in this area could literally sell, take that equity, and buy cash in your neighborhood right now.
And the reality is that's a lot of what does happen. People see that, even though it's unfortunate that some people have been priced out, even in that price range. That's always going to happen in every marketplace. Other people are seeing it, you know what? Okay, that's just the cost of doing business. And I'd say 55% of our buyers are cash buyers in this marketplace, because they're retirees, they're empty nesters, they've had time to save money, or the other part is usually they're heavy conventional, they're bringing 20, 30, 40% down. There's very few FHA or VA buyers here, very few.
Wow.
So it's a little bit different. That's a little bit different than my northern market, Ocala, which is more of an everyday marketplace, more VA, FHA, that type of thing. Have to deal with closing costs and that type of stuff.
Got it. Question for you. So if I have a seller who's interested in moving to the Villages, the price point looks fantastic. You're right in the middle of Florida. What's the lifestyle like?
So the appeal to the Villages is that there's literally 2,000 plus clubs and activities here in this community.
What kind of club? We've got California club and we've got Florida club.
All of it. There is a Florida club and a California club, and every state in the Union club. And I'll tell you this. Here's an interesting story. This is the perfect thing for this video. I wouldn't even think about this. I've got an agent. She moved from Palm Desert, from California, and she joined me about 60 days ago. Shout out to Joy Farrington. I'll tell you that she belongs to the Pan Am Stewardess Club.
Oh, wow.
Like, there's a baton twirling club, there's the Korean club, there's the Spanish speaking club, the UK club. I mean, it's on and on and on and on.
We can't blow past that. How do you know about the baton twirling club?
Well, if I told you, then I'd have to quit the business. No, it's like, no. Well, there's a lot of other clubs that we're not going to talk about on this video, but
that's the Ocala market, not the Villages market.
No, it's the Villages market.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
There's activities. There's a lot of stuff to do if they want to. How far from the ocean?
So we're actually equidistant. We're pretty much equidistant between East Coast, West Coast. What happens here is you've got enough here to keep you entertained, but if you're looking for extra culture, I was thinking about doing a video on this recently, is in Ocala, there's a very small but nice museum, the Appleton Museum. There's the Ocala Civic Center, or a Civic Theater rather. And then we're literally, and the way Villages is moving, by the way, Villages is the developer is building about 300 to 400 homes a month.
Wow.
And it's growing south and moving along the turnpike, which actually leads to Orlando. So they're about, in the southern end of the villages, they're about 35, 40 minutes drive to Orlando.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So probably the biggest airport, Orlando. Tampa's about an hour and 15, hour and 20. And to the coast, probably the best beaches to the east would be Daytona, which is a straight shot, through the Ocala National Forest. Would be like probably an hour and 15-minute drive. And then it's a little bit longer for nice beaches on the West Coast, because I don't think there's great beaches due west. You have to go a little bit south. You have to go to like Clearwater and Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, Anna Maria Island, beautiful beaches there. That'd probably take you about 2 hours.
How about shopping?
Shopping. Well, what's fascinating about shopping is that Orlando is probably going to be the best bet, like Mall of Millennia. Shopping is 35, 40 minutes that way, or you can go to Ocala. But then again, most of the shopping nowadays is done by Amazon, right? It's like, unfortunately, that's a thing, right? So, and let's talk about Inland Empire. Let's talk about that. Here's my question. Somebody wants to move to your area. What is it that they need to know?
Be prepared for that hour drive. If you're looking to go to the mountains, it's going to be an hour. The desert, the beach, Disneyland, LA, San Diego is going to be a couple more hours. 3 hours to San Diego, 3.5 hours to Vegas.
Right.
But you're going to get a whole lot more. You're going to get a lot more house. You're going to have more rooms. You're going to have more personal space. And I think, I know based on the statistics, like National Association of Realtors came out and said that people love where they live more after COVID. And those that don't move quickly because you're confined. You're confined to your space. You're going to know, do I really like this lifestyle? And what we found was kids needed to be homeschooled. They needed their own space. But parents were going crazy. They needed backyards. And that's not what LA was. So if you come out here to the Inland Empire, your weather is going to be in the summertime, probably 100 to 105. In the wintertime, 48, 50 is probably the coldest. But if you really like the snow, it's not that far to get to. We have wineries. We're getting a Top Golf, which I'm so excited about. I'm waiting for them to finish a Top Golf. It's so awesome. I went to one in Virginia when I was visiting Virginia. You literally can just sit there, have a drink, and hit a bunch of balls. And it's great. It's so much fun. You don't even have to know what you're doing.
It's crazy. I need to go get a live because I haven't been, and I've heard about it. Everybody I know has been. I'm the only one who hasn't. I've been invited and haven't gone. You
gotta go. It's a blast. And so here in San Bernardino, they are building one. They're bringing one in. It's probably 2 years out. We have a ton of new homes that are being built, but because of just the problems of transportation and getting the materials out here, the cost of it, it's taking a lot longer. Something sneaky that is happening that people should pay attention to, by the way, I'm going to sidetrack. I'm done for that. But for new builds, make sure you're locking in on your purchase price because they're starting to throw clauses in there that if the property doesn't appraise, then the buyer pays the difference. Or if it's too long and the values have gone up and the cost of materials have gone up, the buyer pays the new price. And so if you don't go in with representation or an attorney, you could be really subject to some hardcore penalties there. But I'm going to go back real quick. I had a question for you. Here in California, I was just talking about weather. People who aren't from here kind of freak out about earthquakes. It's an inside joke around here. I literally live on San Andreas Fault. I live on a fault line.
When was the last time you had an earthquake? Because we're going to talk about hurricanes.
I don't know. I slept through it. I don't know.
Do you remember the last earthquake?
Oh, man. That I physically felt? Probably sometime last year because I was inside the house during COVID. But, we can hit a 4.0, 4.5. And he was like, oh, how did you feel that? It's something to talk about. But moving to Florida, we all see the hurricanes on the news and we all see if I had a seller that said, Amanda, I want to go to the villages, but I don't want to get flooded out or washed away. What kind of life is that over there?
Well, I think there's two things. It's such a funny thing because I still remember there was a story about a guy who got swallowed up by a sinkhole, like 15 years ago, and people still bring up sinkholes. Like that's probably more of an issue, but
We saw it on the news with that whole condo complex in
well,
Florida.
that was on the ocean, and that wasn't a sinkhole. That was just bad maintenance, and we don't. And by the way, in our area, I'm actually literally in a 3-story building right now, but almost everything is a rant style home. Maybe because of the demographic, you're not going to see too many 2-story homes. So almost everything's a rant. So you're not living in a large condo complex, so it's not like on the 15th floor, anything like that. And on top of it, what's interesting is we're located, as I showed you before, we're right in the middle of the state. So they did research on this. This was, I don't remember which hurricane it was probably sometime after, it was probably 04, 05. They did research that if a category 5 hit the closest point in Florida to us, it would be right around Daytona Beach, Ormond Beach, that area. And that came straight for us. They wouldn't evacuate this particular area because we're so far inland. So by the time it hit us, it'd be like a category 1 or a tropical storm. So we're actually in the safest spot in Florida, being right in the middle, equidistant to the coasts. And on top of it, the last time we had a hurricane a couple of years ago, and the worst thing that happened was there was flooding, but it wasn't flooding like Katrina, New Orleans flooding. Like that's not what we're talking about. There was flooding in the low-lying areas, and people, I can't say there were that many people in this area, if any at all, that had to be evacuated, maybe a handful, but it's really actually the safest spot. And I can tell you, I think New York, New Jersey, Houston, New Orleans have seen more hurricanes than what we have seen in the last 15, 16 years.
Wow.
So it's really overwhelming.
What is summertime like? What kind of weather extremes do you experience?
It's hotter than a mother in the summertime. Okay. Right. It's hot. It's humid. Actually it doesn't get, I take that back. We're probably 91 to 95 degrees in the summer, but the humidity is pretty high. Most people get used to it, and we have air conditioning, by the way, so that's good, and running water, so that's helpful.
It's important.
And what I've seen is a lot of people do get used to it. And right now this is the best weather. A lot of people come here just for this season, typically November, December, all the way up until Easter, because literally a few clouds in the sky I'm looking at. It's beautiful outside. I don't know what the temperature is, but 75 degrees, and it's beautiful.
About the same. We're 72 today, nice blue, cloudy. Yeah. So comparable weather. If somebody were to leave here, they'd get the same going over to your area.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's similar. It would probably have more humidity, is my hallucination, in the summertime, right? Like it's not, you guys are close to the desert, right?
We're about, it's San Bernardino County mountain area. And so I could be in the high desert in a 20-30 minute drive.
Yeah.
So, where I'm located is a valley. So it's the Inland Valley, but people get that confused with like the San Gabriel Valley, which is more towards Los Angeles. But we're in a little valley here. It gets humid, but
well, all of Florida is a valley. Like we don't, there are no mountains. Right? It's like as flat can be. We're like, I think the highest point in the villages might be like 100 feet over sea level. I mean, it's something ridiculous.
Okay. All right. Well, what about cost of living? Cost of living, compare that to like gas prices. What would I pay for gas?
I don't even know, because I drive an electric car. I drive a Tesla, so I have no idea. No, I do have an idea. I think it's like lower threes. I think it's like 320, 330.
Say no more. We're in the high fours going into fives, and it's not coming down anytime soon.
Yeah. And my understanding is, look, I think the cost of living is going to be less here in Florida. I don't know how much. I wonder, we need to look up what site people can look up to really tell, the cost of buying a gallon of milk in Florida versus buying a gallon of milk in California.
Imagine it's kind of the same. What about like taxes, property taxes and income taxes and all the other tax reasons people leave here?
So 0 income tax, right? No state income tax at all, right? Obviously you have to pay federal, but no state income tax. Property taxes, a lot of people move here because of that. A lot of the people that have moved from the Northeast have moved here because of that, because their tax rate is astronomical. So, on a $300,000 house, if we have a homesteading rule here, where, obviously if you live here more than 6 months in a day, your taxes are going to be significantly less. So you're probably going to see, probably around $2,000 to $2,500 a year on something
Wow.
like that. I mean, that's probably, what would you see in your neck of the woods?
Depending on where we go, it's anywhere between 1.25 to 2%.
Okay.
So on a $300,000 home, it could be on the low end, $3,500 to $4,000 a year.
I think that, the big difference is going to be, in my mind, is probably state income tax, right?
Yeah.
State income tax and the price, right? The prices of homes. I think that's going to be where the biggest difference. I think you nailed it right on the head, which is, you can sell your home in California and buy something here and put some money in your pocket.
Not just that, there's the longevity of the savings, because the profile of somebody who's retired is you're not going back to work. You're on a fixed income. You might get a cost of living allowance of 3% a year, depending on if Social Security is feeling gracious or not. And so by saving on the personal income tax, the gas prices, the food prices, and the property taxes alone, that could put in somebody's pocket a few $100s a month, not to mention not having a mortgage because they paid cash. So overall, I think you have such a low inventory problem because you have such a high quality of life compared to what it is here financially.
It's really fascinating, but you guys have the weather, right?
We just said, it's kind of matching today. I've got 72. We don't have as much humidity.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, being I'm not a Texas resident yet, but being there for about a year now, it's a shock. It's a shock to your body to walk outside at 7 o'clock in the morning and feel like you're taking a bath. You're like, because it's a drier heat out here. We don't have as much humidity. I'll have to check that in a minute, but it's probably 20-30% today. And so you feel it a little bit more, but like you said, there's air conditioning and you get used to it after a while. All right. How about bugs? Like, it's an honest question. Like, do you guys have monster bugs out there?
Let me check. We've got this is actually, I will tell you this, like, there is one thing that you have to have when you're buying a home here, when you own a home here, you have to have bug control. You do have to have, obviously doing a termite inspection, but you got to have bug service, because we live in a land of bugs. Now, it's not like you can walk outside and bugs are going to be all over you and like you're doing this. That's not what we're talking about, unless you live in a, next to a retention pond or, a lake. You're going to get mosquitoes like you would get anywhere else. But, you're going to get, there's ants and there's, stuff. So we do have more, I think we have more bugs here than most places. But
I'm coming from a position of PTSD. I visited Jacksonville a long time ago, and they were just huge.
What was that?
I don't know what it was.
You're in a sci-fi movie.
Florida. I gotta go.
You're in a sci-fi movie. That's great. I can see that. That's going to be our thumbnail. It's going to be this giant ant on the screen. That's going to be the.
So what would you recommend somebody do? Because over here, it'll take 7 days for me to sell a home, but it's going to sell in 3 days in your market. Do you do virtual tours if my seller can't get over there fast enough? Because it'll take 3 days right now with the Southwest and American Airlines boycotts.
Yeah, this is true. That's right. And yeah, and there's some things in the contract that we just changed our contract beginning of November to actually maybe account for those types of things. It's questionable, but I think the best thing is, of course, any kind of, you've got to move quick, obviously. Here, you're going to buy something, you got to move quick. And yeah, so doing it virtually is a plus. Finding an incredible realtor here that will actually do that for you. And one thing I'm really recommending is people do their homework in advance. And what I mean by that is actually having us send you the real estate contracts. So you can do some homework and really understand the terminology. There's differences here, obviously different state. And I've seen, people get shocked because, okay, oh, this is different. They're just used to it a certain way. But yeah, as far as moving from anywhere right now, whether it's California or West Coast, East Coast, up north, yeah, having somebody really do that legwork for you in advance, putting in an offer. Try to get it contingent upon your review of it when you get here. That's not always something that owners want to do. Maybe it's going to be a short window, maybe a 3 or 4 day window. I'm actually advocating, and I think this is probably a smart move. If you've never been here, take us up on a couple of things. One, we can find potentially a rental for you or stay. Literally, I'm looking out the window. I'm looking at the Hampton Inn. We've got a hotel that's like literally next door to my office. And, we're actually going to start something new. I haven't really officially announced this, but we're going to do a tour of the villages. I actually have a bus in my company here, and we're going to do a tour of the villages. So actually tour the place, understand what you're buying, understand the marketplace first. If you can rent, even if it's outside the villages, if you can find something, we're still a little bit tight on rentals as well. I'm actually advocating for that. So you don't have to buy something that you don't want, or worst case scenario is, buy something you don't want and just be here. And then you're going to sell the darn thing. And at least you're local. And that's what I'm advocating, especially for the people that want something special. They want something on the golf course. They want a little bit of a water view, which in our world, water view could be a retention pond with some ducks in it. And I'm not joking about that. That's like a real thing. I mean, it's just like, a large, it's pretty to look at, but it's that, but those are the premium properties that will typically go for 600, 700, 800 plus. And inventory is incredible. Everybody's looking for that. So if that's you and you're looking for something like that, get here first. And it doesn't matter, buy a patio villa, buy, a courtyard villa, buy something small that is not what you're looking for. And then you could always rent it out for season or just sell it later on.
From your experience, Glenn, you have buyers that probably reach out to you first before they've listed their property in another state. And what do you advise those buyers? Go and list your property and then call me back, or go shopping first and then list your property? What do you advise?
So you're talking about people that are coming from another place.
Coming from another state like California.
Here. Well, look, if you could buy cash, a lot of these people already have cash and don't have to sell their home, or they can take it, take some equity out of their home. They can do, one of the specialized products on that and actually take that equity and buy something here, the equivalent of a bridge loan type of thing. That's going to be one option. The other option is either pay cash, or if you can't do either and you've got to take the equity out and you don't want to do it that way, you want to sell your place first, that's going to be, making sure that you do some kind of post occupancy on your place wherever you're coming from, and make sure you're able to stay after closing, and then you have cash and then buy something here. Most of the people that are moving here don't have that issue. Most of those people have some kind of equity somewhere, some kind of dollars, sitting in some, bank account or financial institution where they could just pay cash and then sell their place later. That is the way to go, because you certainly don't want to count on finding a place without the inventory. Really.
How many offers does a buyer have to make before they can get a home?
Well, the reality is now, and I'd be interested in your marketplace right now, it's a little bit different here. The type of buyer that's coming here is different in the way that it's almost a resortish type of spot. When people come here, there's like, it's time. This is like Disney for retirees.
Really?
This is a party over here. This is a party. You're coming to party. I'm going to tell you that I've talked to clients here, and they've made more friends here than they ever had in the outside world, because they were working, they were busy, they had a family, and they've got, they had 3 or 4 close friends. They just didn't have time for people. They come here, they've retired, and every day is a Saturday, right? And if you YouTube the villages, I mean, you kind of look it up, it's like, half the traffic population is by golf cart. So people are here to party. I mean, happy hour started probably 2 hours ago.
Oh, wow.
Right now, typically the streets roll up at 9 o'clock, things close down, but I'm sure the party continues at their home. So it's like there's so much to do. It's so interesting. And what I love the most is that some of the people that are here, some of the residents are actually busier than what we are, and we stay busy. They belong to, 5 different clubs. They've got something going on every day. So, it's like, you just come here to enjoy yourself. And, I think what happens is in a resortish type marketplace, people are not necessarily, they don't have to buy. We really, really would like to buy. And as a result, after they get educated, I think typically most of the people know that they want in, they're ready to go, I'm ready to retire. What's the price? I'll pay it, they go. Sometimes people they go against the grain. They don't necessarily go with our advice, which I think is, I never understand that. Like, if you're going to hire a professional to do something for you, you should actually pay attention to what their words of wisdom is and are. And sometimes they don't listen, and then you're going to see them, make 3 or 4 different offers, and they're going below asking. But with the numbers that I've shown, and we've shown, your market's the same way. Low inventory, still decent demand, good demand, strong demand, interest rates still low. This is not a buyer's market to be, offering anything but over asking with a really
I received an offer today. It was below ask price, which was at market. And I had to write back. I said, my seller doesn't even want to see it. Don't just tell your buyer we're not interested. I have been authorized to reject anything below list price.
So how many offers? What's the, we've heard the quote unquote horror stories, not just California, this is around the country, of 50 offers, people having to look at make offers on 50 different homes, and they don't get it, blah blah blah. What's the temperature now?
It's a little weird because I'm finding that my buyers are getting under a contract a lot easier. We're only having to offer on 4 to 5 different properties. And simultaneously, I listed a couple of properties last week. One of them had maybe 5 showings, but 3 made an offer out of 5. And then another property, I had 15 showings and I have 5 offers. So we're seeing less offers per property, but we're still seeing really strong offers that are coming in because, like I showed you, it's low inventory. So I think people are kind of stepping back from the market and wondering, is this hype? Is there going to be a bubble that's going to bust? What I'm doing is I'm calling all of my clients and saying, look, were you thinking about selling? It's still showing that we're strong for a demand. Were you thinking about buying? Buy now. Here's the difference. You're not looking at the principal. You're looking at that monthly payment. And 1% on that interest rate, if it goes from 3 to 4, is 10% in buying power. People will say, well, the market's going to crash. Look at the past 6 recessions. 6 recessions going back to the 80s.
Yeah.
The market only came down twice. One of them was in 2008, and that was because of real estate. And the other time, the market only went down 1.62%. So if you look at that median price of a $500,000 property dropping down 1.62%, you're trying to save $7,000 versus lose $50,000 in buying power. It's just math. Get in. You're not an investor. You're buying your first property, which is what my market is. And if you're a seller, what are you waiting for? Really, what are you waiting for? You're retiring. Taxes aren't going to get cheaper. Gas isn't going to get cheaper. All the indicators are, out of the 6 different types of inflation, we've got 3 right now. Go to Florida. Go enjoy the good life, because apparently everybody's partying in the villages all the time.
Really, they are. Every day's a Saturday.
Every day's a Saturday.
It really is. It's funny because a lot of my agents will do an open house, and they'll get traffic on a Monday, like everywhere else. You've got to do your open houses on Saturday, Sunday. It's like, no, it's crazy. And and we're actually in that weird time, like you said. It's not a balanced marketplace, but it's a particular environment where it's a good time to buy, and it's also a good time to sell.
I do think so. And I think something else that's happened, because looking at those indicators of year over year, 20%, 17%, the buyers can't compete anymore. They've maxed out their loan limits, their VA and their FHA loan limits, and the housing prices for the entrance market has surpassed those loan limits. And those buyers don't have the cash difference. However, in January, we've got loan limits that are increasing. I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I'm hearing conforming loan limits are going to increase by $50,000. FHA loan limits are going to increase by $50,000. And that's just going to reinvigorate that first-time buyer entrance market. In January, as soon as that happens, we're going to see it catch up again. And so we always have that lull in fourth quarter. And that's when I tell all my clients, jump, do it now. And then January, it's going to go right back up. Yeah.
Well, this has definitely been the California versus Florida real estate video. I love it. You know, for anybody that's doing any kind of business in California, you need to connect with Amanda, whether she can handle it in her area or she can find somebody wonderful in California, around the country. She's the person. Obviously, I'm in Florida. So Amanda, where do you want people to find you?
You can find me on social. Find me on Facebook, Amanda Zito. You can find me on Instagram. It's probably the best way to be able to find me. If you want a website, learn a little bit more about what I do, amandazito.com. That's Z as in zebra, ITO. Just look up Amanda Zito out of Southern California. I'm pretty much everywhere.
I love it. And I'm Glenn Stein here, Realty Executives in the Villages. You can find me mostly on YouTube. And you could also text me and also leave comments. You have questions, please do that. Subscribe to our channels. That would be absolutely fabulous.